So last week, things got spicy. We learned quite a bit about the underlying dysfunction in autism. So let's do a quick recap of what we learned, because it was a lot. First, we learned about the microbiome, which is the engine that drives our children's body and brain to either healing or total dysfunction. We learned about the intestinal wall and leaky gut, which we talked about was like that cheesecloth that lets the good stuff in and keeps the bad stuff out. We learned about chronic inflammation and how the brain can't fully develop if all the body's energy is being used to fight off those perceived threats of food or other toxins that we're consuming into our body. And we learned that changing the gut and inflammation fundamentally changes the brain and can improve symptoms of autism. And we learned about my 2R protocol and what we need to do in order to heal the gut and reduce inflammation. So tonight's going to get very practical in how we implement that 2R protocol. That said, let's quickly review that 2R protocol. First thing is remove and repair. So the first things we need to remove are the things, the chemicals, and the food that cause the biggest issues in our children. So now next week, we're going to be getting into a few more of the chemical-based toxins that are in common household items that literally kill our children's brain cells, disrupt hormones, cause major issues, and things like that. But that we are going to focus on next week. This week, we're just going to review and talk about the things that we consume and put into our body. Now, we talked about wheat and why we need to get rid of that and everything that contains gluten. We talked about reducing our sugar intake. And as I said, it's almost impossible to remove sugar completely because it's in almost everything we consume or that's made in a factory. But we're going to reduce it as much as possible and take out things that are just direct sugar inputs, things like cotton candy or soda, things like that. We're going to be removing dairy and reducing our intake of other poisons and pesticides. Now, it's almost impossible to remove pesticides because the pesticides that we spray on our crops, they're water soluble. And what that means is they just go into the groundwater and they're in the water we drink. They're in the rainwater. The craziest thing, it's even in our breast milk that we're giving to our kids. Just Google that. It'll absolutely blow your mind. Trust me, it did. And I can't even lactate. So, I mean, if it blew my mind, I'm sure it'll blow yours. All right, so that was remove. Now we have repair. So how do we do that? The first part is about changing the food that our children eat. Now, I realize I have the word diet in here, but just know that at the most fundamental level, we aren't implementing a diet, not at all. We're implementing a new way to see food. We're implementing a lifestyle change that will impact the rest of our child's life. This is not a diet. This is not a 30-day or 5-day juice fast and then we go back.